If you're a beginner to mouse and keyboard, there is no doubt that the most challenging part is figuring out your keybinds. Fortunately, I'm here to make that easier for you. In this video, I'm going to give you guys the best keybinds for Fortnite in the new season. Afterwards, I'm going to give you guys tips on how you can find the keybinds that will be most optimal to you. So for the beginner keybinds, we're going to start off with the general movement. Obviously, WASD is the best for this, as this is the one that literally every gamer is most comfortable with. Then we're going to have spacebar for jump, as it is the most optimal for that bind. Then we're going to have sprint on caps lock, which you're going to want to press with your pinky. After that, we're going to have our crouch and slide on left control. Left shift is also another option for crouch, but we're going to save left shift for a more important bind later. Then moving on to the combat controls, we're going to have reload on R, since this is what every professional player does, and it's right next to your movement binds. For use, we're going to have mouse wheel down. Scroll wheel pickup is one of the most overpowered techniques in all of Fortnite and is highly suggested by a lot of professional players out there. But always make sure you have E on the second column, as it allows you to use the hold to swap pickup feature, which is pretty useful. For your pickaxe bind, I highly recommend Q. A lot of professional players like Polarized play with this, and it's one of the most optimal buttons on your keyboard. Then for your other weapons, just make sure to follow the number keys on your keyboard from 1 to 5. This makes it easier for you to remember them, and it's easier to build the muscle memory. Next is to make sure your crouch while building is on the same crouch button you had previously. But for real this time, let's get into the actual important binds. First and foremost, I highly recommend getting a mouse with side buttons if you haven't already. It's really not that expensive to get a decent quality mouse with side buttons. If you don't have side buttons, then feel free to skip to this part of the video. Okay, so we're going to have our wall on one of the side buttons, preferably the top one. Then we're going to have our floor on C, which you can either press with your index finger or thumb. Then our other side mouse button will go to the stairs. And finally, your cone button will be on shift. This is by far the most optimal keybinds in all of Fortnite. Players like Noah Riley, and even when Booga switched to optimal binds, they use this specific combination. Then we're going to have our trap on T and our rotate building on G, our change building material on right click, and of course, we're going to have our building edit on F. We're going to talk more about scroll wheel reset later on in this video, but yeah, this is the most optimal set of building binds for Fortnite if you want to become competitive. As for players who don't have side mouse buttons, then we're going to copy the World Cup champion Booga. I believe his binds are really optimal for players who don't utilize their side mouse buttons. We're going to have wall on X, our floor on V, our stairs on C, and our cone on left shift. I don't recommend pressing these buttons with your index finger. It's unoptimal if you press it with your index finger, and that is why I recommend pressing these buttons with your thumb. Professional players such as Clicks do this a lot, and actually the majority of pro players do this, so I highly suggest starting now so that you have a basic understanding of it. Then we're going to have our trap on T and our rotate building on G. Then we're going to have our change material on right click, and finally the building edit will be on E, which also means we're going to have our swap to pick up button on F. This is not the most optimal set of binds out there, as you definitely want to have side mouse buttons on your mouse to reach your full potential in Fortnite. But if you're going to be using your thumb to press most of these buttons, then you'll definitely see improvement. For beginners who don't know this, then this is going to be insane for you. There's this feature on mouse and keyboard called the scroll wheel reset. In order to do this, you want to have scroll wheel up on the second column of your building edit. Then make sure your reset building edit's second column is also set to scroll wheel up. Trust me, this feature is broken and literally every pro player uses this. Controller players wish they had this feature. However, before the video ends, I'm going to tell you guys how you can find your own binds. So you want to start off by practicing with WASD, looking for buttons that will minimize the movement of those fingers that are locked on WASD. Index fingers and ring fingers are sometimes acceptable, but only on 1 or 2 equations. Utilizing your pinky as well as your thumb is the best way you can find optimal binds in Fortnite. Use the binds I provided as a basis and as a starter set of binds. Eventually, you can branch out more and find out what's best for you. So that is it for this video. I hope you learned something new, and if you did, then make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching.